Hey, it's Jeff from jgsalespro.com, where we're committed to bringing you measurable and sustainable sales improvement, and I certainly appreciate you viewing this next edition of my video newsletter. I've got a couple of quick points that I'd like to make with you today. First of all, it's November 1st as I'm recording this, which means we are in the home stretch. The end of the year is right in sight. Now is the time that you need to be looking at every prospect that you've met with during the year that's put you off and said, call me next week, call me next month, call me next quarter. Now's the time to bring it home because you've only got a few weeks left to really pound out your quota. So now's the time to look for everything that's in your database that you can possibly bring in, while at the same time remembering that you've got to keep prospecting so that as January 1 rolls around, you've got plenty in your pipeline. Second thing I want to talk to you about today is inspiration. I was incredibly inspired last week, and I'd like to briefly share with you what happened. On Friday, I drove into Manhattan, which is always a mistake, but I drove in to meet with an ex-client who took on a new CEO. I met with the new CEO because he wanted to talk about doing some training and consulting work, and it was a great meeting. And on the way home, as I was sitting in incredible traffic at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon, heading back to Long Island, my phone rang. And it turned out to be two sales reps from a current client of mine, a bank. And they called me, and I could hear that in their tone of voice, they were on a speakerphone, that they were very, very excited. And the reason they were excited was they told me they had walked around together in the field all day, going on sales calls, and they had a great day. But what was really exciting was they told me that when they got back to the office, they decided that they would pound out a couple of cold calls. So I was inspired just by the fact that they were going to make cold calls at all. But what really got me inspired, and the reason they called me, was to let me know that they each made only a couple of calls from 4:30 to 4:40 on a Friday afternoon, and each of them was able to secure an appointment. Between them, they got 2 appointments in 10 minutes at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon. Now, if that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. I'm not saying you need to cold call every day. I'm not saying cold calling may not be appropriate for you at all, but the first thing you should realize is cold calling still absolutely works if you do it with finesse. And the second thing is you've got to do what most people won't. Most people on a Friday afternoon, especially salespeople like us, are packing up to go home, or you've already left, you've already got the weekend on your mind. These two winners took it on themselves to make some calls and got 2 new appointments at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon. Ken and Tom, you are my inspiration, and I hope everybody's listening takes that lesson to heart and says, wow, it can be done. I got to do what other people won't do in order to be successful. If I had to make a bet, I would say that both Ken and Tom are going to be incredibly successful at their jobs. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is questions. I know that many of you have questions that I can help you with, and I'd love to use this video newsletter to answer those questions. So if you've got a question or a sales management situation that you're involved in, where you're having some problems figuring out what to do, or maybe you just want to talk to somebody who's not in your company to get an outside opinion, I actually welcome you to email me at jeff@jgsalespro.com, and I'll be happy to use this newsletter to answer your questions going forward. So thank you so much for listening as always. I hope you have a magnificent November and a great end of the year. I'll try to put out another one of these in the next 2 weeks, and be sure that you go out and make it happen.